We haven't touched too much on the Saints yet. Ooh. We talked about what happened.
Ooh.
Not great.
Ooh.
Bob, not great.
I don't know why y'all do that to yourselves.
A lot of questions to be answered, a lot of questions to be asked. I don't have the answers. Our next guest, Fletcher Mackel, does have the answers because he is the guy that is New Orleans. He knows Saints. He knows Pelicans. He knows all New Orleans sports. He comes on our show. He's a friend of ours. Fletcher, we appreciate you coming on. Whoa.
Oh, my bad.
Okay.
I wanted to give him his theme music.
Yeah, that's it.
Play my music.
Yeah. Fletcher Mackel, appreciate you coming back on the show. Please explain to me what the hell happened on Sunday. Me and you were texting a little bit. To me, that was one of the harder losses that I've seen from the Saints in a little while.
So let me ask you this. You said theme music. Do I get like the theme from like Fletch, like Chevy Chase or something like that?
Is that what you want?
Whatever you can make that happen.
Is that what you want? We can make whatever you want happen.
I don't know. That made me feel like so special. I heard theme music. What the hell? It's like, this may be like a new concept. I may have to go tell my boss here. Dude, like Mikie, Mahtook, and the guys gave me theme music. What the hell?
Hey, we've had walkout songs. We can have a walkout song for you come into the game.
That's true. No, so here's the thing. To me, like, I don't know what the hell happened in that game. Last year, everybody dumped on Pete Carmichael, if you remember. The Saints were like in second and long every time, and he just kept running the ball because he didn't trust a quarterback to throw. Well, in this game, this is when you should be running the ball. You're up 17 with like 11 minutes to go.
And you're back up there.
I don't know why they just didn't put Taysom Hill back there and just run quarterback sneaks and wildcat. You'd have just run the clock out. I just couldn't believe that they just kept letting Jameis throw, and all they're doing is just giving the Packers more time. I mean, I just kept thinking, what am I watching here? Like, I understand the concept of we play to win, we believe in Jameis, we got electric playmakers, but at a certain point, you're gonna win. Right. The quarterback is out. Just keep away from them for like 10 minutes.
With a defense, with a defense that's really good.
Hey, I'm gonna be honest. Let's tell the truth. That last part, man. Even if we watched that happen with Drew Brees in the height of Drew Brees' career, you'd still be like, why didn't we run the ball? Like, why didn't we just give it to Taysom and run the ball right there?
Right. I mean, my thing is, I just couldn't believe it that I thought, okay, I get it. We're going to be hyper-conservative. We're going to manage the game. And even on the third downs, like, they weren't even trying to get first downs. That 3rd and 9 slant to Michael Thomas, he didn't even get to the markers, right. And Jameis hit him. And so it's like, if you're not going to, like, throw the ball down the field, what are you doing early by passing and not just running and trying to run the clock out? I think Sharif Ishak, who you all know, who I work with here at Channel 6, he put up a stat. They had 30 plays when Carr went out. 21 were passed, 9 were run. It should have been the opposite. It should have been 21 runs trying to just ground it and pound it and just get to the end of the game and sneak away with a victory.
This is all why you're up 17.
Not giving the Packers all that time to just scratch and claw and get back into the game and put even more pressure on your defense that has carried you to wins this season. And at the end of last season, Rod Walker, who's with the Times-Picayune Advocate newspaper here, this was one of those break-your-brain stats and shows why the Saints haven't been good in the last couple of years. The Saints defense has now gone 11 games where they've held opponents to 20 or fewer points. That's just unbelievable in today's NFL that is completely geared to offensive players, a pass-happy league that loves scoring. And yet the Saints are only 6-5 in those 11 games. You think that your defense would if your defense does that, you're 9-2. You've got this great record if your defense has done that, but the Saints are barely above 500 because their offense has just been so bad in those 11 games.
11-0 and unders.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Part of the reason, obviously, this happened is because Derek Carr went out. I thought the offense started to kind of catch their rhythm when he was in the game. It was 17-0. I know they scored. They had a punt return for a touchdown, but it just felt like, okay, there's getting a lot more chemistry. They were running the ball a lot better. Now you get AK back this week. Derek Carr goes out, right? I didn't know what it was. I thought it was going to be a separated shoulder. It is an sprained AC joint. They say he's week to week. What is the feeling like inside of the locker room around the team? What is the prognosis? When is he supposed to come back? When the earliest, latest? And what do you think is going to happen? When do you think he's going to come back?
Look, I'll say this. I've covered this team a long time, for 21 years now. I remember in 2015, Drew Brees suffered a bruised rotator cuff. And it was the first game Drew Brees had ever missed because of injury in his career, because when he suffered the horrific shoulder injury, it was the last game of the 2005 season, and Brees came back in 2006. He never missed a game until 2015. In 2015, he got slammed on his shoulder, same type of situation. Thankfully, no structural damage, no broken collarbone. And at first, it was listed as a 3 to 5 week injury. Brees missed one game against the Carolina Panthers, and he came back. Now, I will say this. When he came back, he was a dink and doink kind of guy for a few games, because you could see they probably shot him up, but he didn't have a whole lot of strength in that arm, but he came back. The fact is that Carr has no structural damage. He doesn't have a broken collarbone. It is now a pain threshold management type situation. When does the swelling go down? How much pain can he deal with? Because, I mean, look, they're going to shoot him up on game day. Can he be effective operating the offense? I certainly don't think he's playing this week, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to think that maybe he plays against New England or Houston in those games after Tampa this week, that I could see him back in 2 or 3 weeks, missing 1 or 2 games. That's the indication that I am getting. Now, again, it's all based on his threshold for pain and how quickly he feels like he can operate and throw the ball again. But this is a guy who's been an Ironman. Yeah. In 9 seasons up until this point, he'd only missed 2 games because of injury. So this is a guy who, look, he's not a defensive lineman like Cam Jordan, who's played with a lot of pain. But nonetheless, in today's NFL, he does take hits. And to miss that few games with injury shows that I think he's going to be on the more speedier end of this recovery.
Man, you talked about how unbelievable the defense has been over the last 11 games, right? And I watched this past game, and the defensive effort of one particular player that stuck out so much was unbelievable to me. Out goes Paulson Adebo. Obviously, insert Alontae Taylor, who plays a lot more out instead of out of the slot. Now it goes to the boundary, right? Can you talk about how well he played and if that's going to change anything in how they play those two guys? Because I can't recall the last time I've seen someone thrown at so many times, and time after time after time again, he just kept making plays.
Because they don't even throw at Marshawn anymore. Like, he can't say, he throw at Lattimore and Lattimore breaks it. They don't even throw at him anymore. They just throw at him, and he absolutely dominated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say this, though. The Packers, I'll give Jordan Love and those guys credit. They said they were going to throw at Marshawn. They threw at Marshawn more than any other team had, and actually had a little bit of success doing it. Most teams don't even look the way of Marshawn. He's playing so well. But Alontae Taylor, Paulson Adebo definitely beat him out as the outside corner. And I definitely thought it was great that they decided to move Alontae into the slot, because he had a really productive rookie season, and he's a really good player. And he plays how Dennis Allen wants. Dennis Allen's a former safety. He wants these big, physical, aggressive guys. Marshawn's a longer, lengthier cornerback. Adebo's got length. I mean, Alontae Taylor has length and physicality, and I think we are just scratching the surface of what he is capable of. He had the Saints' only sack yesterday coming in. I mean, when you talk about a guy who just, if you don't even watch football, if you're a baseball guy, you said, damn, who's this number 1?
Right.
This guy's in pass coverage. This guy's getting after the quarterback. That's what I mean. He was a guy that if you don't even know what you're watching, you go, boy, that number 1 seems to be all over the place. So, look, they needed guys to step up. Marcus is going to be out because of his suspension. Paulson Adebo is injured. To me, I thought that this could be a game where Jordan Love really exposed them a little bit and went after a guy like Isaac Yiadom, who doesn't have the same experience as some of these guys. But, I mean, really, to me, because of what Alontae Taylor was capable of doing, this defense is performing at a special level. I get it. The end of the game, the fourth quarter, the offense did them no favors. They broke down a little bit. But even then, I thought they're still a solid group that is capable of carrying this team. And they're going to have to carry them because, not to pivot into another topic, I still don't know what we're going to get from Jameis. There's people out there that love Jameis Winston that think he should be the starter, which I think is crazy. But I just don't know. I mean, I don't know what we're going to get from him. I don't know if we're going to get a game manager. I don't know if we're going to get the turnover machine that threw 3 interceptions against Tampa and gave the game away to them last year. I don't know if we're going to see a heavy dose of Taysom and they're just going to, try to ground it out, so to say. Again, the defense is going to have to continue to be the backbone of this team going forward for the foreseeable future until Carr gets back. They were the backbone because Carr wasn't exactly lighting the world on fire as one of the top quarterbacks in the league. I think he was getting more comfortable, and they were still figuring some things out. He was going to continue to get better, but they're going to have to lean into this defense even more. And it seems crazy to ask them to continue to carry the torch, but that they're going to have to do it in an even greater way now.
Well, I mean, I think it's obvious they're going to have to continue to carry the torch, but let's be honest, over the past few years, that's sneakily been the best part of the team anyway. Like, let's just tell the truth about it. But I think your segue to it was perfect. You're going to have to enter Jameis for as long as, who knows, until Derek can actually get back in there and tolerate the pain and play through it. But with that being said, you couldn't be bringing back Alvin Kamara at a better time. What should we be expecting to see? Obviously, you have the young rookie there. You're going to have to insert Taysom somehow. Where is his conditioning, and what are we expecting to see out of him? Is he go back to the workhorse kind of thing, or is it going to be kind of by committee, if you will?
No, I would say this. So, look, if you go back to 2019, when Breeze got hurt and hurt his thumb and tore that ligament in his thumb, and they played the 5 games with Teddy Bridgewater, they really Peyton overused Kamara. I mean, I remember that first game in Seattle. Kamara touched the ball like 30 times because it was, hey, we're gonna go to him, and Teddy's gonna be a game manager. Look, Alvin Kamara in training camp said because of the whole situation in Las Vegas being resolved, he felt like a weight had been lifted off his chest, and he looked like he was in mid-season form from a conditioning standpoint and from just a physicality standpoint. So I think there's no doubt he stayed in shape. He seems rejuvenated now that all of this situation in Vegas is behind him. I think you're going to see him come back and play a huge role. And look, I get it. Kendrick Miller's rookie. Tony Jones did some nice things. Taysom's going to be the gadget guy. I think you will see them force feed the ball to Alvin Kamara in a way like we haven't seen since maybe 2019 when Drew Brees was out for those 5 games and Sean Payton probably overworked him and got him injured at the end of that season. I think they know it's defense and Alvin Kamara at this point. We're not asking Jameis to go throw for 404 touchdowns. Like, that ship sailed a long, long time ago.
Well, it might happen. It just might come with 4 more interceptions too. So, like, that's the scary part of it.
Right. But that is not what they're going to do. I think it's going to be, we're leaning into Alvin. We're going to dink and dunk to Alvin. We're going to hand off to Alvin. And look, here's the thing. The one big thing that nobody's talking about, because Carr, getting hurt was the big story. The Saints blowing that lead was a huge story. The offensive line.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. That's exactly what I was about to ask.
I mean, just disappointing beyond words. When you think of this, these guys, Ryan Ramczyk, first-round draft pick on his 2nd contract. Cesar Ruiz, first-round draft pick, just got a big extension. Trevor Penning, first-round draft pick. Andres Pete, first-round draft pick on his 3rd contract extension. And Eric McCoy was a 2nd-round draft pick, but their first pick in 2019 because they didn't have a number 1, and he's on his 2nd contract. They have invested a ton in those guys, and they stink right now. I mean, Carr, that was his 11th sack.
Yep.
Jameis got sacked afterwards. I mean, this was supposed to be the strength of this team, the defense and this great O-line, and they are just getting worked over. I mean, Cesar Ruiz is getting bull rushed and knocked over by speed linebackers that weigh 215. It's just, they've been bad.
How do you fix that?
How
do you fix that? What's the fix on that?
I mean, here's the thing. Look, James Hurst, Cesar Ruiz is in concussion protocol. Okay. Nobody that has gone into concussion protocol has played the same week. So I think we're going to see Andres Pete start. Trevor Penning, I would say maybe you could kick Hurst to tackle and put Andres Pete and say that Trevor Penning isn't ready. But you don't have that option right now. So I think it's just going to have to be, they're just going to have to play better. And I know that sounds like that's not an answer, but that is the answer. Like, you all play Major League Baseball. At a certain point, guys just need to play better.
Yeah.
There isn't some like magic hitting coach that's going to show up and tinker with the guy's swing at this point. Like Doug Marrone as the O-line coach, who is a renowned offensive line coach, isn't all of a sudden going to say, let me show you a new technique here. It's just going to have to be, I got to play better and do a better job. And that's just the simplicity of it.
And you talk about simplicity. I'm glad you said that, because you bring up the examples of baseball. Sometimes you got to figure it out, right? In sports, sometimes you just got to simplify something or just make it easier to kind of get somebody in a rhythm, right? And the fact that you don't have Derek Carr there, and the fact that you're going to lean on the running game a little bit more. You saw progression in the running game this past week. You saw that the holes open up a little bit more. They're able to gain some more yards. Now you have your all-pro running back coming back. Maybe that's what the offensive line needs. Maybe they say, okay, we're going to lean on you. You're going to get a push. You don't have to worry about any pressure, and maybe that's going to get them back into that aggressive mindset. I don't know. I'm hoping. I'm being optimistic, but maybe. I mean, that could happen.
Yeah, and look, and here's the thing. What the offensive line doesn't need is the Jameis Winston that holds the ball for 6 seconds looking to make the hero throw downfield. So, that's what they don't need. They need Jameis that wants to, just check down to Kamara and get the ball into his hands. And I do think that's the kind of game plan that we'll see is, kind of leaning more into the run game. Trevor Penning excels, is a mauler in the run game. Kamara's back. I think that against Tampa this week, they're going to say, hey, look, we're not going to try to get cute. We're going to try to just win at the line of scrimmage. And Tampa has a good defensive team, but we're going to try to exert our will on them and just run the ball down their throats and check down to Kamara and try to get the ball in his hands. But you're right. At some point, they just have to play better because they have been, to me, more than anything else. We can talk about Groupie missing the kick. We can talk about Derek Carr not having synergy with his receivers. Whatever we want to say, the biggest disappointment in 3 games has been the offensive line because there were expectations, and it's a unit that has historically played well. You wonder, how have they been so bad? Because make no mistake, they've been bad. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. All of them. Even Ramczyk, he just doesn't look the same after the knee injury. Before it's like, oh, it's Penny. What about moving Ramczyk? It's like they ain't moving Ramczyk anywhere. Ramczyk's got enough issues on the right side of his own. So, to me, I don't know what to do other than to say,
gotta play
better.
Yeah.
That's always a great answer. Just play better. Just
play
be better.
You don't like it, be better.
Yeah. And speaking of playing better, as well as the defense has played, is there not a world where if you have to give an option for Dennis Allen, obviously he's the one that makes the sauce for the defense. Is there a world where he keeps his job and he has to, almost cut Pete Carmichael loose in the offseason where it's, hey, one more year? You see a lot of coaches do that where it's, I'm going to replace an offensive coordinator, give myself another year, because you can make no bones about it. The defense is awesome, but they have nothing on the offensive end. Is there a world where Dennis Allen keeps his job if the Saints continue to look like this, where it's you give up 18 points and lose, and they're like, all right, you flounder through the year, maybe win 10 games, get into the playoffs, lose. He keeps his job, and then where would they go on offensive coordinator? Because it feels like somebody's got to go.
Yeah, and look, when Sean Payton stepped aside for that year, Pete Carmichael had discussions about moving into kind of an advisory role, so to say, and letting somebody else take over as offensive coordinator. When the dust settled, they went with this whole continuity thing. They kept Ryan Nielsen, they kept the coaching staff, they talked to Pete and said, we want you back. They didn't end up getting Deshaun Watson, so with Jameis coming back, it was familiarity, continuity. That was the whole thing, that we think we're good and we don't want to change things. Last year, there was a lot of pressure in
Oh. Got that phone call? Bounce back. Come on.
It's probably Pete Carmichael calling him.
Yeah, he's mad.
Fletcher was heated.
Huh?
Fletcher was.
I like that.
I know. The fan was coming back.
I like that. He'll come back. He'll be back.
I think he'll bounce back in. Hot Take Express real quick.
Hot Take Express. Love that.
Joe Brady, offensive coordinator, New Orleans Saints, next year. Book it.
Wow. You think?
What is he doing? He's a quarterback's coach in Buffalo.
Quarterback's not playing great in Buffalo.
I know.
I don't know. Maybe.
There's some different ideals of what you should be doing and what you're doing. It's hard to coach. Josh Allen. Man likes to, as Big Cat says, push all the buttons.
Hey, let's be honest. Josh Allen, he's every bit of a
straight
up West Coast cowboy out there.
No doubt.
He is a gunslinger cowboy, own rules.
Yellowstone.
He will do what he wants. Yeah, seriously.
And we got one in ourselves. He got his Carhartt on. Jameis. He's going to start slinging that thing.
Is he back in there?
Tuck that shirt in.
Is he not back in there?
No, he's frozen. I don't know what happened.
Uh-oh. Let me text him.
He's probably still talking, too. Just yelling at the phone.
He might be.
But I just don't understand what – I mean, obviously you saw what the Saints offense did last year, and then you bring it back and run it. It wasn't the quarterback, really. I mean, Andy Dalton can manage an offense just fine. That wasn't sexy, but it just felt like there's nothing behind it. You have all these playmakers, Olave, Michael Thomas. You get Alvin Kamara back. It seems like Derek Carr's competent, and it's just not. It's so clunky. At some point,
didn't we just watch Andy Dalton throw for like?
I'm about to say he almost threw a 400.
That's what I'm saying. He's competent
and a win, right?
They lost.
300 plus the other day. It's kind of seeming like it's falling on. Well, that guy went there and threw for 300. We had Derek Carr come here.
He's back.
It's a little different. So we'll see.
Sorry about that.
No, trust me. I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of the newsroom now.
I love that.
That was my fault, and I am so sorry.
You don't have to apologize. Good.
My phone died because I was in an edit.
Oh, that is your fault. You do have to apologize for that. I mean, come on, Fletcher.
Jesus, get a charger on that thing, huh?
Full perspective here. Now, my coworkers
Look at that. That's where the
Wow.
sausage
I love
is
they're
that.
going
made.
to have to listen to a couple of minutes of my yell talking.
I love that.
Instead of hiding in an edit bay.
On Apple TV
And
Plus.
so you're saying you're talking about finish your thought because you're right in the middle of it, and I liked where you were going with it, and I want you to keep going.
So I think that and I appreciate the question about Pete Carmichael. I think that they thought about moving on from Pete. Then they kept the continuity there after Sean left. And then last year, there was this, pressure of, hey, Pete, he has to go. They're getting a new defensive coordinator. We're going to have a new quarterback because everybody knew they were moving on from Jameis Winston at that point. And I was a little surprised that they landed on Pete. But the one thing I'll say about Dale Benson, Mickey Loomis, Jeff Ireland, Dennis Allen, and it's to a fault, and it's good and bad, is that they are loyal to a fault. They do not do knee-jerk on airline drive. And I think they felt like, look, we put Pete in a tough spot last year. We gave him Jameis and Andy. We gave him like 2 backups after we couldn't get Deshaun Watson. Let's give him a real quarterback. We still believe in him. He was Peyton's right-hand guy. He still knows offense. He can still scheme it. But look, if things go sideways this year, to answer your question, yes. If the offense continues, it's just the win now, high stakes pro sports. People have to be held responsible. Yeah. I don't think Dennis Allen's going anywhere. I know Derek Carr's not going anywhere. So if the offense can't figure it out, they will lay it at his feet and say, we gave you a chance with a real dude and some real weapons, and that you didn't get it done. It's time for you to skedaddle after 17 years.
If that does happen, though, who would you want to see take over that role of OC? Lloyd's trying to say Joe Brady. I don't know about that.
I can't believe y'all are pushing this man out of the building in 3 weeks.
Pete's gone. He might as well. I am. He's done.
We just calling for his job already 3 weeks into the season. This is unbelievable.
It's a year and 3 weeks. I don't remember the dome looking that dead ever. There's no offense.
So I'll say this, I am not trying to push him out. I like Pete Carmichael a lot. I don't think he's ever going to be a head coach.
I don't want to hurt your relationships.
And look, it's not like I have a great relationship with him. I mean, I've crapped on coaches before. Look, the crazy thing is I remember I wrote commentaries and said that Alvin Gentry should be fired as the Pelicans head coach, and then he and I went to dinner like 4 days later. It's one of those things, though. I like Pete. I think he knows offense. But I do think if this offense isn't in the top half of the league and they can't find synergy, it's just the way things work. Yeah. Last year, Dennis was a defensive guy. He wasn't happy with how things worked in the secondary. The fact that they forced so few turnovers, so they pushed Chris Richard out because Dennis didn't like that. Again, I think they wanted Pete to have a chance with a real quarterback. I don't know if they would bring Brady back. I'm not sure how Dennis feels about him. I know that bridge was burned with Sean Payton.
Yeah.
And again, people can forgive and forget, and time heals all. I have a feeling that Dennis may look in-house. Ronald Curry's a guy. People may remember him from his star basketball and football days. He was one of the greatest high school athletes ever, played both sports at North Carolina, is a former NFL player. He's a guy who interviewed for a couple of jobs last year. Maybe they'll feel like he can breathe some new life into this. He's the quarterback's coach right now. If not, again, they wouldn't be looking for coordinators. Brady would certainly fit because he coaches a pro-style offense. But they wouldn't be looking for guys, for an RPO type system.
Right.
That's just not what Carr's ever going to run. But I think they would probably keep it in-house because, like I said, they are loyal, if not, to a fault at sometimes. So I do think Ronald Curry carries a lot of favor in that building, and they may just say, you know what, Pete, it's time for you to go, and it's time for us to give the younger guy with some fresh ideas before another team steals him and he goes on and becomes some star there.
Hopefully, obviously the Bucks play tonight. Hopefully next week they go on the road, you go at home. You play the Bucks at home. Hopefully they can, maybe it's the Jameis revenge game in Tampa, and hopefully they have a good one. They can kind of right the ship and get it ready for Derek Carr. But schedule doesn't get easier. Obviously the schedule looks easy. You have Houston, who just won over the weekend, and you have these other teams that I think people thought weren't going to be good that are better than they thought. So the schedule seems like it's getting tougher.
NFL, baby.
Yeah, it's the NFL. It's tough. Every game's tough to win. So hopefully they can right the ship. Fletch, I appreciate you always coming on the show. I appreciate your time. We'll continue to have this conversation. Pels starting a month. We're going to have you on here talking Pels because you're a guy. Yeah, you're a guy. There's a lot of questions.
I promise. We're not going to be 0 for 3. That the last 2 times I've done this, my phone has given out 3 strikes out. So I promise, whatever technical issues
if it happens again, we'll just send you a charger, courtesy of us.
Yeah,
what is it like when y'all? Is it relegated for assignment? What is it called when they get sent down from the big leagues?
DFA.
Oh, you get DFA'd. You got DFA'd.
I'm going to get demoted to somebody else in that podcast. I'm going to get relegated to just send them on that podcast.
Yeah, never, dude, never. You're our guy. You're always going to be our guy. Don't worry about it. Listen, we're about as loose as they come. So I appreciate you, dude. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll talk to you next week.
Cool.